Former UFC star Darren Till recently made his debut in the boxing ring, but how good was he? Can he actually box? And how do I think he would get on against a real ranked boxer? In this video, I'm going to be doing a video game film analysis where I break down some of the techniques on display from Darren Till in his fight against Anthony Taylor, which he won by stoppage. So stick around to the end because I'm going to try and answer the question, how actually good is Darren Till at boxing? Hello everyone, welcome back to a guy called Henry. Guys, I am back in Australia. I am back on the channel. It's been a little bit of a break. I've not been consistent recently, and that's just because I've been on the move, guys, to be honest with you. I was in Malaysia for a little bit. I'm now at my girlfriend's house. I managed to sneak in this filming session while she's at work. But as of the next few weeks, I'll be moving into my own house, where I'm going to have my own studio set up, and it's going to be huge, and I cannot wait for it, because from that point on, the channel is going to be absolutely flying. Guys, before I get into this video today, please don't forget to like the video. Please don't forget to subscribe. And I know a lot of you are hardcore boxing fans, so I'm very interested to hear your opinions on how good Darren Till is at boxing, because there's a lot of narrative around Darren Till, around this fight, around the fact that it seems that Tommy Fury has gone and ducked him, who people kind of view as the best, actually pure boxer who has a boxing background on that influencer boxing scene. And whilst I'm not really one for influencer boxing, I still think it's really interesting to take a look at from time to time, because you are going to get crossover stars like Darren Till who have that athletic background, who have that background in fighting. And I'm always intrigued to see how they can come over and compete against boxers. Before I get into this one, it's really important to add a little bit of context. So from what I understand, Darren Till had quite a long losing streak in the UFC. He had a lot of injury issues, but he's not that old. I think he's only about 32. And this fight he had against Anthony Taylor, before we go and analyze what Darren Till did, we should really speak about the context here, because Anthony Taylor, from what I understand from my research, from what I've watched of him, he's a smaller man than Darren Till. He is not a pure boxer himself. Again, another guy that's come from a mixed martial arts background from the Bellator outfit, I believe, is who he was signed with before. And I think he had a fairly mixed record. I don't think he won too many. I don't think he lost too many. I think it was sort of an even sort of record in terms of wins and losses for Anthony Taylor. But again, not a natural boxer and not a natural heavyweight, which is the weight I believe they were fighting at. And I wanted to do this video because there's a lot of interest in this fight. The highlights video for this has done over 1 million views. It's trending on the YouTube homepage. So I thought, you know what? This is exactly the sort of video I should make, because I think it's really important that we take a look at this and we try and give it a little bit of objectivity. That's what I always try to do in my content, as you guys know by now. I always try to look at things and be objective. What I will say about this, I'll be playing this back to you in slow motion breakdown so I can show you the techniques and the skills on display. The commentary in this stuff is unbelievably irritating. I mean, I think it was KSI who was commentating, and it's just irritating. It's difficult to listen to. So hopefully I can spare all of you that, and we can actually just get into some of the more interesting breakdowns. So without further ado, let's get into this breakdown. So to begin with, I'll just show you this little bit of action here. Now, Till, you can see there, he's in the southpaw stance. Let's change the color, actually, because he's got red gloves on. We'll go with a nice yellow today. So Till, standing there, he's got his gloves up, a little bit loose with the lead hand, but if you're quick enough with it, that's not really a problem. He's in a southpaw stance, and his base here is okay. It's not too bad. I would like him to be in a little bit more of an athletic position. He's quite sort of upright, but it's not too crazy. Now, what's interesting about this here is, the footwork of Till. And something that you typically see with these guys who come over is the footwork isn't really there. And with most of these influencer boxers, the number one thing that they lack is good footwork. It's the hardest part of boxing, to be honest with you, is the ability to make those small adjustments with your feet to be able to punch. You'll see so many guys in the gym, probably myself included, that look amazing on the heavy bag, look really good on the heavy bag, but then you get them to move and throw punches, and it's a completely different story. So we'll edge it forward here. As Till, you see he shuffles his back foot in ever so slightly there, which is a good little move. The first thing I notice about him is he's sort of a bit hesitant with his feet. You watch, he goes, step in, step there, and then he sort of does another half step again to throw the punch. And what he ends up with here is quite a wide stance. And he's got this wide base. And the issue with that is that if you get hit or if your opponent makes an adjustment, it's quite hard for you to adjust. So I don't mind him doing a lunge like that, but I'd want him to punch as he did it. He's kept his hands up. He's got this wide stance now. And the issue with this is if he throws his backhand, he's throwing it essentially from all the way back there. So his back foot, his backhand is a million miles from the target. His jab's in a good position, but as you can see here, Anthony Taylor has extended his own jab hand, and he's sort of parried that jab. Now, what you'll see next is something that I saw quite a few times watching these highlights, which was Anthony Taylor looking for the right hand. So you see there, Darren Till throws the backhand, and to be fair to him, he is a lot bigger than Anthony Taylor. So he almost hits the target there, but Anthony Taylor ducks under it, and you can see he throws a right hand over the top, which catches Till around the side of the head there. And it was a recurring theme in this fight, was Anthony Taylor looking for this right hand, and I'll show you why he was able to hit Till quite a few times and why it might be a problem against better opponents. Now, there's a little sequence here, and what I will say that I don't like about this is that Till really overcommits with his shots, and not that much lands clean. And being the bigger man, you can kind of afford to really go for it because the smaller man will be so wary of what's coming at him, typically speaking. But anyway, we'll have a look here. So you see the feet are quite close together there. His lead foot's there, so he knows that the lead hand at least is on. Edge it forward. He throws a lead hook, which Taylor does read, and he sort of dips down to the side, goes under. But if you look at Till's position here, his hand is all the way over to the side there, and his chin is pretty exposed, to be honest. The shoulder is there, but if Taylor had just had the sort of awareness to just dip straight down, then it would have been on for him there in that position. Now, Till does overcommit. You can see he loses his bounce a little bit, but as he comes back up here, Taylor, what Till does do well, and it does catch, I think it just catches kind of through the guard. He sort of squares him up with that backhand. But what I will say is that the technique on it is not brilliant, to be honest with you. He turns it over nice enough. You can see his back foot turns over there, and he lands. But you look at the position of his body. He's sort of on his tiptoe there, and he's chucked it in. It's landed, and he's stepped round, which I do like. He's sort of cut off the angle there on that side. Throws a lead southpaw jab again, goes in with the backhand, which, again, Anthony Taylor dips under, tries to escape. Till just misses with the hook there, and then they sort of go into a clinch. But Till really committing to his shots. And again, it's an interesting one. I feel like he's not very good at bringing his back foot in and closing his stance when he's trying to cut the distance, when he's trying to get to him on the ropes. Slightly overcommitting with his shots there. And I didn't think that the technique was that great on some of those punches as well. Again, here, it's something I noticed quite a bit was how clean his right hand was. His back hand was landing. His southpaw backhand was landing. It wasn't very clean a lot of the time, and I think that was probably, I can show you here. So he leads with a southpaw jab. Taylor does a good job of dipping back. Again, he throws that right hand, goes to the body that time. That's actually a good counterpunch from Taylor. Tries to go up top, and you see what Till's doing here. He's measuring. He's leaving his hand extended there against Anthony Taylor's head, which technically you're not really allowed to do. But he then comes over with this backhand, and I would expect that to land there. The trajectory of it's a bit weird. I don't know how to explain it. It's almost like, look, he does twist. I suppose he twists his back hip over a bit. I think it's because he's throwing it from so far back. Just looking at it, his back foot there is all the way back there. His backhand's coming from here, so I guess it's got a fair distance to travel. So there's time for Taylor to read it. And as he throws it, Taylor does just dip down there. And then Till does step his back foot in there, he squares up a little bit, and Taylor just sort of, he's in a horrific position there, trying to escape. But it's interesting with Till. I feel like his delivery of his backhand is quite slow from what I've seen so far. And I do think it's because his stance is so wide when he gets them to the ropes. He needs to quicken up his feet. He needs to have a slightly narrower stance. And at the very least, he needs to land that jab so he can then bring his back foot in and bring his backhand into play. I actually quite like the work that Till does here. And this is something you see Usyk doing. Sort of circling the lead hand. You see he dips his legs for a little feint. And then you can see he's sort of circling his hand round like that. And because Taylor's trying to parry it, you're looking to manipulate his lead hand position so you can then fire your own jab over the top. I think as a general note, I would just like to see him be a bit more aggressive with his jab because he is bigger, he is longer, he's got it nice and loose. I'd just like to see him flick it in a bit more with a bit more intent, a bit more sting, a bit more snap. That's something I would like to see. But this little sequence here is nice. You look, it's more measured. So touch again, and then you see the way he's moving his feet closer, and then he lands that third jab, and Taylor dips down. Taylor's actually quite slippery. He's quite good at moving his head. But I like there how he used the triple jab to get himself into range. I would then want to see him land something big with his backhand, bring that back foot in closer. But it's a good technique. I would like to see him pendulum stepping a bit more as well. Just, not the constant bouncing of a b-roll, for example, but the way Beterbiev does it, where you bring the back foot in to bring the front foot forward. It means you can attack from further out. And as long as you're jabbing as you do it normally, you're pretty safe. So I think that Till physically looks well at heavyweight in this Misfits boxing, but I think it's interesting to see that nothing he does seems to have much much snap on it. I know he won this by stoppage, so we'll see that, and we'll see how he does that. I guess maybe he's just a very heavy-handed guy. I want to show you guys this because this is actually quite a good example of Till's feet and how I feel they're kind of limited. But he does try the right thing here. So edge it forward. You can see he dips and he goes to throw the backhand from quite far out. As he does that, he pendulum steps in. So that's what I was explaining before. If you throw as you pendulum step, just for those of you that don't know, if any of you watching this are new fans, the pendulum step basically is this foot comes forward, so this foot can then come forward. Or yeah, and that's pretty much how that works. Here, though, he steps forward. As he steps in with his lead foot, he throws the backhand, throws a little hook, and you can see, look, he stepped his foot into that space. So now his stance is quite narrow, which is not how you want it to be. So you can see there he quickly extends again. Because Taylor was moving backwards so much in this fight, I do have some sympathy for him. It is difficult to close that gap. Throws the backhand low there, which I think he sort of blocks Taylor. But then what happens is, as he throws that, Till lets his back foot come forward, ends up almost unorthodox for a second there. But because, I mean, look at the position of Taylor. He's in no sort of counterpunching position. Till is in no sort of danger there, so he can get away with this. But you see, he does a little sort of, you see if I go back, his feet there, he gets a bit, throws that, comes in, quickly skips forward again. If Taylor was a bit bigger and had a bit more ambition, I think that there's moments with Till's feet that you could capitalize on. They're not that quick, but you see Taylor hits the ropes there, and that's where, you know, I don't understand why Till hasn't continued to follow him in there, because he's just got his hands up and he's there to be hit, really. So yeah, interesting one. Now this is quite a good little moment to look at because Taylor really sets him up here. He sells the shot to the body and then comes over with the right hand to the head, and Till eats it. So edge it forward. Taylor just dips down, and as he does that, he extends the jab there. And Till buys this, so watch. As he does that, Till dips down, and he exposes his chin, and his hands are lowered because he thinks he's going to the body, but he's not. And then he fires that right hand over the top, and he lands on his face. At the same time, though, and this is something that we saw in the fight become a feature as things moved on, Darren Till lands that uppercut. I think, I can't quite see if it lands clean, but it comes through. So the right hand lands, but he takes that because he knows if he throws the uppercut at the same time, he can have an impact. And is that the point where he knocks him down? He sort of pushes him to the ground there. And I think that was ruled as a slip. But that uppercut that Till starts trying to time from the southpaw stance becomes a very important shot for him. But needless to say that I think that right hand was also very important for Taylor, and you'll see that. So here's the moment that Till knocks Taylor down for the first time. And you can see they're both standing here with high guards and feet, you know, little gap between them. So from there, you'd have to sort of step into land. Let's watch. So Till steps in, and as he does that, Taylor also steps in. And you can see the thing here is that if you look at their feet positioning, the orthodox fighter has his foot on the inside of the southpaw fighter. So you know that Till's backhand is lined up very, very nicely there, because if your foot is to the outside, it naturally means that your backhand will be lining up nice and centrally with the opposition. So as Taylor fires in a jab, you can see Till's already started to throw the uppercut there. So the jab just comes up short, and he's done a nice job there, actually. You know, you have the guard up sometimes because you want your opponent to hit it, and you pull it away at the last second, and they feel fresh air, and then they think, oh crap. And as he's thrown that one, he's gone with the two, and you know, Taylor, like Till here, has kept his stance relatively wide when he's thrown the two. There's a bit of a gap between his legs. Throws the two. As he throws that two, Till's just thrown flush up the middle there, the uppercut. That's the first shot that lands clean. As he's falling back, Till throws a lead southpaw hook, which lands on the gloves a little bit, and a backhand sort of grazes his head on the way down. But it was really, or maybe misses actually entirely, it was really that first uppercut that really got Taylor going there. And it was a good bit of work. Feet positioning was everything there. As I say, having your lead foot on the outside of the orthodox fighter as the southpaw is key to lining up that backhand. And because of that, his shot landed, and Taylor's didn't. So that was good from Darren Till there. And you can see, I'm being critical of his punching technique. His technique's not awful, but there's something not quite right with his kinetic chain. I feel that a lot of his power is coming from just his upper body, being a big man. He's obviously got heavy hands, but his punches do lack zip and pop, and I just sort of feel there's a bit of a disconnect in the way that he throws his punches. Even when he turns his foot over and his hips over, I just feel like his technique could be better. And it's really interesting in boxing. You often notice something works for a fighter, they try it again and again. And, you know, you do something until it stops working, basically, because why not? But again, it's the exact same setup here almost. Till with his gloves up, looking for Taylor to try and throw something before he throws and commits with his punch. And it's a good idea because, as I say, Taylor was moving backwards so much in this fight. I think he went into there with a kind of survival mindset a little bit and just look for his moments. But you've got to kind of draw someone like that out of their shell. You've got to get him to throw sometimes. So you can see here, feints the jab this time and goes straight with the right hand, Taylor, which he does land. He lands it really clean. It's a good shot. But at the same time, you see Till there lands the uppercut again. So I can't quite see their feet there. I wish I could. I can't quite see how the foot setup is, but basically Taylor throws the backhand. It lands on Till's chin. Till lands the uppercut. Not fully clean, but clean enough. It clearly hurts Taylor. And, being the smaller man, if you land simultaneously, it's always going to favor or typically will favor the bigger man because generally they're the bigger puncher and have the better punch resistance. You see Taylor here kind of goes to the floor after a little, not shove, a little lean from Till, but it's counted as a slip, and I think he buys himself a little time there. In this sequence here, I feel like this is a better backhand from Till. So edge it forward, it extends the jab, and it's it's not a hugely powerful jab, but enough to go through the guard of Taylor. And as he throws that, you can see he just brings his lead foot forward, and he bounces into range. And because he's got his feet closer here, when he throws this, he throws it quite straight. And I think that's what I'm looking for as much as anything, is just to throw his backhand straight through the guard. Boom, that's a nice shot. And Taylor's falling backwards. And it's a good, powerful shot from Till. You'll see this exchange here. Everything's a bit scrappy. Again, I won't show you how he ended up here. But again, I don't like how wide his base is here. He's quite front foot heavy. And again, just far away from that back leg, which is where the power comes from. Throws the jab. Taylor pulls backwards. He lunges forward with the backhand there, which is a good shot. It lands, and he steps his back foot in at the same time. You see that? That's good because he's getting his feet closer again. So he throws it, back foot comes forward at the same time, and then he pendulum steps in. And as he does that, this is where he eats a bit of a shot because what you see as he pendulum steps here, Taylor throws a little check hook, and he leaves his hand on the shoulder of Till there. Till's arm is already kind of extended, so he can't really do much of that. And then Taylor just wings in that right hand. Luckily for Till, he can't really get super leverage on it, but it was a good, clean shot and landed heavy. And a lot of the times in this fight, Till was fighting with his hands down, had his hands low. He's good at putting his hands up when he's in that phase, but I feel like when he's in the moment of throwing, he's quite defensively irresponsible with his hands. Does have decent head movement and decent judgment of distance. When I say head movement, pulling his head back primarily. But yeah, a lot of why it's hard to judge this, as I said at the beginning as a caveat, is that Till is just much bigger than Taylor. But we'll go on, we'll see the stoppage, and then I'll give you my final thoughts. Again, this one is pointless really at analysing from this angle because you can barely see what's happening. But Taylor dips down underneath the southpaw backhand of Till. Again, when you throw it from far back like that, it's so easy to read it. So he dips down, he slips to the side of it, and then you can't see where he is or what he's doing, but what you see comes up is his backhand. He throws an overhand right and catches Till on the chin. And again, that's due to the fact that his hands are low regularly. And that, look, if he's against a guy similar size to him with punching power, maybe he doesn't fight like that. It might just be because he has no respect for Anthony Taylor, to be fair. Another little knockdown here for Till. And, Anthony Taylor just here attacking from way too far out with his backhand as well. See how far away his back foot is from Darren Till. Miles. And so you see what happens here. If I edge it forward, he just sort of half extends his lead hand. And then as he throws that backhand, Till willing to sort of risk it hitting him because he turns his head at the same time, actually, which works well. Again, though, look at the lead foot position. There's a bit of a gap between them. When you're the bigger man, you can afford to have a little bit of space in front of you like that because they've got to step to you. And Anthony Taylor's not really taking that into account at all. Lunges from distance, goes over Till's shoulder. As he's doing that, you can see where that's going to go, which is straight there. And that's gone over Till's shoulder, or on his shoulder. Comes up with the uppercut, which I think just catches him on the chin there, Taylor. And it's definitely hurt him. You can see instantly kind of trying to hold. And he just slumps to the floor here. And that is counted. And I think we're pretty close to the stoppage now. Yep, so literally the next sequence after he's got up, you see here, Till steps in with his back foot, throws the uppercut, and catches him. I think he just catches him on the chin as Taylor's throwing that backhand again. I think Taylor at this point was getting pretty desperate, and he was trying to throw that backhand without setting it up, which wasn't really working. Till had his hands low a lot, but you still have to get into his space. And when someone's that much bigger than you, it's very difficult. I do have sympathy for Taylor in this fight. It's a difficult task. And really there, what he needs to be doing is getting his head off the center line as he's approaching Till, moving his head off the center line, going side to side. But because the way that Taylor was moving his head often in this fight was to dip down to avoid those hooks, he ended up in these sort of precarious positions where the uppercut was a great shot. So it half lands there. And then you can see from here, Till realizes he's a little bit hurt. He steps back and he just really puts it on him, steps his front foot all the way through, and Taylor's legs are all tangled, so that's not great for him. Exactly the right thing, though, to step in there when he's got legs, his feet sort of crossing, lands the backhand, steps in again, Till lands another backhand, sort of to the gloves of Taylor. But Taylor's really hurt. And look, you can see this shot here. You've got Darren Till closing in on you. Your hands are open like this. That's the point in the fight where you go, this guy can't really protect himself at this point. And Till didn't throw straight away, throws a hook, sort of half lands to the glove. And is this where Taylor goes down? Yeah, he's going down there. Till lands another hook, and that's the one I think that finishes Taylor there. Falling to the floor, Till goes for another shot on the way down, which is fine as long as his knee hasn't touched the floor, as long as his glove hasn't touched the floor, that's okay. And that was how Darren Till stopped Anthony Taylor. So, firstly, guys, please get in the comments below and let me know what you made of this performance from Darren Till. I come away from this feeling that it's a strange one, because I feel that Till's technique is not great. I feel that he's obviously got heavy hands because he's a big man anyway. There's something, I don't know if you guys agree with me, let me know what you think, but I do feel there's something a little off with his kinetic chain. It just feels like that transfer of power from the balls of his feet, from his heels, in his feet, up his legs, through his hips, through his back, into the punch delivery doesn't seem quite right to me. I feel like he can punch harder. I feel like he can punch faster and snappier with power. And yeah, I think his feet were okay. I think he tries to do the right things, but they can be a little bit slow and a little bit scrappy. He was against a smaller man, which means that he probably would have had a bit of a speed advantage, you might think, Taylor. And he was quite negative. So it's very hard to judge. Mostly because of the size difference, I found this hard to judge. I would say that if he performed like that, the way he did against someone like a Tommy Fury, I think that would be quite an interesting fight, actually. I don't think that Tommy Fury will watch this and think, I can't beat Darren Till, unless he really has no confidence or self-belief. But I think that it's a good performance from Darren Till. He did what he was supposed to do. Probably got hit a few more times than he should have, but Taylor was being quite negative. I would just say that I think his foot speed's not good enough. I think his feet aren't accurate enough in the way that he makes his movements, and I don't think he punches fast enough, and I don't think he's very good at being defensively responsible when he's in an attacking phase. Those are the things I take away from it. Overall, I think he's probably one of the better boxers on that scene. I think he could probably do some good damage in that scene. Good for him. Go and make your money, mate. But I don't think he'd do very well against a proper boxer, is my current feeling about Darren Till, but I may still be proven wrong. He is 32, which is a bit on the old side if you're going to be turning pro as a boxer, but perhaps he can perform better than that. I don't know. Anyway, those are my thoughts and feelings. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you're pleased to see me back. And as I say, it's still going to be a little bit inconsistent, guys, until I'm into my own place. But hopefully I will be in my new place before the February 22nd card. There's some carpets and things going in apparently, so we've got to wait a bit. But anyway, I hope you've all been great. I hope you enjoyed the festive period. We're now back. We're back into the boxing season. Some great fights coming up, by the way, and lots to talk about. Lots to talk about. I typically don't do news videos, but I'm going to do some because there's so much interesting stuff going on. I may try and do something next week. I'm away this weekend, unfortunately. I might try and take my camera with me if I have time, if I have the means. But it's a trip that's been planned for a while, so I thought I'd get this one done. And yeah. Anyway, guys, I hope you're doing well. And as I always say, on to the next one.